This is extremely convincing because you just cleared my doubts within a minute or two with your answers, and you are talking about springing up a new economy. Your Excellency, are we looking in the direction of the digital economy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had an interesting interface with one of the renowned engineering companies in Nigeria, and they opened my eyes a lot to the digital economy. Now, one of the things, the best assets God has given us on the plateau is the weather. Now, one of the things about the digital economy is the deployment of technology, digital technology. And the base for the technology requires a lot of energy to maintain. Now, on the plateau, because of the weather, the cost of energy is low. You don't need to spend so much. You don't like, in many homes we don't use air conditioners. And so plateau gives us, the weather alone is an asset that we can leverage upon. And there's already an ICT hub, a nascent ICT hub on the plateau. We just need to develop it further. And we're linking with friends outside plateau who understand the digital economy and say, look, come back and help us to develop this. And let me say this, one of the interesting things that we're doing is that we are creating a diaspora collaboration desk. I promised that during our debates that we're going to make sure that we return the hearts of our brothers and sisters in diaspora back home.
Amazing.
And we are going to walk the talk. Very soon we'll set up the infrastructure to gather their database and see how they can help us back home. And one area they definitely, the diaspora community can come in very strongly is in the digital economy. And so we're looking at all the angles to be able to develop this capacity for the digital economy, because that's where the world is going. And certainly we'll leverage on that.
I am just so excited that you don't just have the answers to everything, but you have the right answers to everything. And I'm sure these answers are giving so many people hope on the plateau as they are watching this show. I was privileged of anchoring the debate we had sometime last year, and you talked about young people who stride in the areas of entertainment and all of that. Your Excellency, do we have we hit the ground with a committee on that already?
Setting up the government structure is not as easy as you think. We have to take time to find the right people to put in the right places. And then you don't just come in and scatter everywhere. There are some of these aspects of governance where people are already manning. You want to be able to hear from them, know what they have done, see whether they are actually competent to occupy those offices, whether they were competent enough and then they didn't have the right working tools, whether they can be given the benefit of doubt and a second opportunity. So a lot goes into it, because at the end of the day, they are still the people of Plateau State. But let me say this, that we are also going beyond the people of Plateau, where we find friends who are not even Plateau indigenes, but have a love for Plateau. They have a passion for Plateau, and they have value to contribute. We'll bring them on board.
His Excellency just spoke about people like us who are on the plateau and have valuable contributions on the plateau. The core elements of good governance include transparency, integrity, lawfulness, sound policy, participation, accountability, responsiveness, and the absence of corruption and wrongdoing. Your Excellency, if you deal with corruption and wrongdoing in your government, you would have achieved a lot of things that you didn't even pay attention to. So how are we going to deal with the issue of corruption, knowing fully well that every Nigerian, almost every Nigerian, speaks corruption, acts corruption, behaves corruption? How do we deal with that on the plateau in the next 4 or 8 years?
Thank you, Tony. Eradicating corruption is a tall order. What you can talk about is gradual reduction. As long as human beings exist, there will be corruption. Because I believe that all of us were born as sinners, and therefore the tendency to be corrupt is inherent.
Actually.
But good societies are able to curb the excesses, the greed in human beings, so that there is some bit of law and order. And it starts with the leadership. And I believe that when people understand that the leader is not given to such frivolities, such greed, such avarice, people are going to be careful what they do as they line up behind him. And by the grace of God, we've started on that note. We're trying to ensure there is prudence. We're trying to ensure there is accountability. And that is why one of the committees we set up was to recover assets of government that we have reason to believe have been misused, misappropriated, and taken away unlawfully. And we also went to the extent where we have decided to suspend some of the horrid recruitments that were done. While we appreciate the need for people to be employed, to close the unemployment gap, we have insisted that things must be done in accordance with due process. That's why we didn't cancel those employments. We only suspended them so that a committee would look into all the processes that ought to have been followed. Were they duly followed? We have gone ahead to also look at the civil service, some of the appointments and promotions, and we've said, hey, we must restore credibility to the system. And that is why we're insisting that some of the appointments be suspended for now. Let's look at how they were made and ensure that people have confidence in the system, where the system must have integrity. And so that everybody, irrespective of your background, you don't need to know anybody. By the grace of God under this government, we want to ensure that there is no godfatherism. Once you merit promotion, you get promotion. Once you have value to add, we'll ensure that we give you the environment to add value. And this is what we want to do. So it's a gradual process. It's going to involve a lot of education, a lot of convincing for people to come on board and know that, look, we can toe a different line. We can get better results, and we can also bring collective progress to society.
Amazing. Your Excellency, I didn't want to bring up an issue, but since you brought it, let's discuss it. You talked about godfatherism. And people on the plateau have the notion that you are going to be subjected to the former governor of Plateau State, talking about Babajan. And there are some speculations, and people have said a lot of things. Babajan will stand in the way. He's going to make you do what he feels as a governor. Your Excellency, are these people right or they are wrong?
Well, they have to be wrong, because where is the evidence so far? Where is the evidence? I've taken many actions. Where is the evidence? But let me say this. I was brought up to respect leaders. Pledged to have people like Baba Akwande give me their support. Canon Selchan Minor, the first indigenous secretary of the state to J.D. Gomwok. I have enjoyed the privilege of having the support of these elder statesmen, people like Professor Lombin, many elders in the land. And I respect them tremendously. And I always value their opinions. But I realize that the bulk stops on my table. I take responsibility for every action. And at the end of the day, I'll be accountable to God and to the people that elected me, and not to any of those leaders. So we'll continue to respect them. One of the things people do is to try to create a sharp knife for you to disrespect leaders that are ahead of you. Totally unnecessary. I believe that we must value the elders as we value the youth, because every segment of society must be carried along. That is the way God designed it.
I'm happy to hear that we value the elders and we value the youths. Everybody is valuable in Governor Mutfwang's administration. Now, sir, you talked about being a farmer in the debate, and you talked about recent times farming practices. And I want to quote you not directly, but you said that by the grace of God, when you will be sworn in as governor, as you prophesied on the 29th of May, and you said it's going to be unfortunate that that period is going to be already a farming season, and then there's something that can be done about farming. Sir, what are we doing to improve agriculture on the plateau, considering the fact that you can almost grow anything on the plateau and it will blossom? So what are we doing in that sector?
Yeah, thank you. Like I did say during the debates, that when we come in May 29, the farming season would have already commenced, and it has already gone far. And in some of the farming communities, I did point out, unfortunately, the insurgency has destabilized them, and so they are losing the planting period of the farming season. We are doing our best to see how we can salvage it. Some of the steps we are taking are embedded in some of the security measures we are taking, so I wouldn't want to disclose them publicly. But be that as it may, we are also working in conjunction with the Ministry of Agri and also the local governments that we have just set up to ensure that we procure some of the implements that can improve the quality and the quality of farming for this season. One of the key inputs into farming is fertilizer. Unfortunately, like I did say, we came in when our financial situation is not flourishing. But we are leveraging on the goodwill that we have to discuss with some of our friends in the industry. As I'm talking to you, we're already discussing very seriously how to procure some reasonable quantity of fertilizer, which we hope to be able to give to farmers at a discount. That should be able to boost some of the farming activities. And we are also reaching out to some of the development partners and see how we can improve on the quality of storage. But one big move we are making is to revive the ASTC. We have already visited the ASTC. We are getting the report about the ASTC. We are seeing how to turn around that sleeping giant so that it can lead the agricultural revolution on the plateau. We will do the much we can for the remaining part of this season while we prepare the infrastructure for a better season next year by the grace of God.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. There was a time that your predecessor, I wouldn't want to say tempered with the traditional system, but something chaotic, almost chaotic, something I would say almost chaotic happened within that period of time. And from all the speeches you make, you want to run an all-inclusive system of government. Where do these traditional rulers fall in your administration?
Thank you. Tony, we've said it time without number that our security architecture begins from the community. And once you have community leaders, and these communities are under the traditional rulers. So invariably, the traditional institutions would play a key role in ensuring that there is peace and stability in our communities. And of course, for you to have peace and stability, there must be security. Now, that institution we respect very well. And under my administration, we'll seek how to be able to enhance the capacity and effectiveness of that ministry. I have spoken to several communities like the Angas people, the Tarok people, the Ronkulere people, who are first-class chiefdoms, but have been at loggerheads for years that they've not been able to elect their traditional rulers. I have called on them to eschew their differences, set aside their misunderstandings, so that we can get those traditional rulers back on seat. And I'm going to work assiduously with those communities to ensure that those tools are filled up as soon as possible. We want the full complement of the traditional council. And let me seize this opportunity. Some mischievous young men put out in the media space that I had dissolved the chiefdoms that were created by the past administration. let me reassure everyone that we have not taken any such step. That statement didn't come from us. We are waiting a report from the Council of Chiefs and Emirs led by His Royal Majesty the Bongwam. We have to have a basis for action. We have to have documented complaints to know what the issues are before we rush into any action. It will be irresponsible to just make a statement when you don't have the facts. At the moment, we do not have the facts, and therefore we cannot make a statement. But at the end of the day, ours is to ensure that that institution is preserved, that institution is enhanced, and that institution earns the respect of members of their respective communities, and of course, the committee of traditional rulers in other parts of the country.
Amazing. Your Excellency, you have spoken elaborately about your governance, or how you intend to run Plateau State, and people are watching from all over the world and they are making comments. We have Alex, this is live, watching this live in the United States, Nebraska, United States.
Wow.
Yeah. Let the right thing be done. Kawai. So that's amazing. Happy Democracy Day. Warm regards to His Excellency and Uncle T. Sir, sequel to what you said concerning revitalizing agriculture on the plateau, but till date there are attacks on the villages, which is the cradle of agriculture. How do we? Where's that coming now? Yes. How do we then reconcile these two, Your Excellency?
Yeah. Okay. I said earlier, thank you for those comments.
That's from Austin.
From Austin in US or somewhere. Thank you.
Alex from the US. Ask Austin from Jos.
Okay. Okay. What we said is that we're dealing with the security issues frontally. Some of the things I cannot discuss in public because we're discussing with the security agencies. But be rest assured that we're on top of the situation. We are having security briefings regularly so that we respond to the emerging challenges. This evening, before I got here, the security chiefs went right into the communities in Riom and came back with the first-hand information to brief me. We've reviewed the situation. We've looked at where do we go from here. We're doing the necessary mobilization we can to ensure that those communities are protected. But like I said, we are also seeing whatever we can deploy to ensure that the rest of the farming season is salvaged in those communities. But it's not every community that is under attack. And therefore, the communities that have the liberty to still go to farm, we encourage them to take the best opportunity of the season. And as we work on the possibility of helping with farming implements, we hope that it can add value to what they are doing. So all hope is not lost. And I believe that at the end of the day, by the grace of God, we will not go hungry.
A lot of people are making comments, and we thank you. We cannot take all of these comments, but we just look at them, and in due time, we will take our time to respond to all of these comments. Your Excellency, in terms of improving the lives of women and youths on the plateau, what do we do in terms of improving the lives of women and youths on the plateau? What do we do?
Okay. Yes, we had already started discussing some of the issues of youth empowerment, where we talk about the directive I gave, you know, for bringing in more youth into the local government administration system. That's why I said anybody will try to bring in people that are below 40. If people in their 20s get the opportunity, we'll bring them in so that we begin a mentoring process. But we're looking beyond that. You talked about the digital economy, which essentially is youth-driven. We're looking at how to be able to bring back capacity in entertainment. We're looking at how to develop the capacity of the youth in sports. But make no mistake about it. Where we want to go to in agriculture, we want to make the youth to develop interest in agriculture, because that is the future. And that's why we want to bring innovation and technology into agriculture. No youth would want to go and carry a hoe and spend hours on the farm like our fathers did. And so we must make it attractive. And we are looking at how to be able to bring in very simple but highly mobile equipment for farming. Farming methods that are less stressful but more productive. The aspects of agriculture, when we talk about agriculture, often we reduce it to just crops. But there are interesting aspects of agriculture in terms of animal husbandry. We look at about fish farming. And these are aspects that I can tell you, when we develop the capacity, a lot of youth will find reason to go into those aspects. And the bottom line is that you teach people how to fish and not give them fish. And I thank God that Plateau youth are not lazy. And we are going to ensure that we do the best. For our women, we have a number of ongoing projects which we inherited about women empowerment, about developing the girl child. We are fine-tuning them to make sure that they are more effective. And we are also reaching out to all the partners in development that can be able to assist with building capacity for women. I often have tried to distinguish the two segments of women, the educated segment and the rural woman. Their needs are not the same. For a lot of the rural women, all they want is to be able to enhance their small-scale businesses. For the educated women, there are a lot more opportunities they are looking for. And we would look at how to address these different segments of the women folk. We have a lot in store. Like I said, part of the people that must come into local government administration are women. We are going to be deliberate about that. And let me even tell my people in PDP, next year when we start having our elections, we are going to be deliberate about bringing women into leadership.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. As the leader of the party of the Plateau, I am sure that will go a long way. Your Excellency, almost on the almost rounding up, I am extremely concerned about two things. The people that are in your government, do they think like you? Because if they don't, my fear is how will they execute all of these points that you are telling the world today? And you can see someone is watching you from the US. So we are...
Thank you, Tony. That's a very valid point. Again, the meeting of minds is not something that happens in one day. Some of the people that are coming into government are people that have related with me for years. Some of the people are people that are just getting to know me at close range. But let me say this. Even though I have a philosophy of governance, I do not have the monopoly of knowledge. And so we will try to bring in people and we will rub minds together. One of the things about me, which everybody working with me would need to know, that I consider myself a student and I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to learn from people who know more than me, and therefore I do not have the insecurity of having intelligent people around me, of having people knowledgeable around me. I think they improve me rather than diminish me. But at the end of the day, as a leader, I must take responsibility. Therefore, I must set the tone. And as we travel together, we'll try to bring everybody on board. It's going to be a lot of education, a lot of information sharing, a lot of sitting together, rubbing ideas, fine-tuning ideas. And I believe that at the end of the day, we cannot be uniform, but we can actually have the same direction. And we bring all the gifts that God has deposited in different people to be able to harness the kind of results that we desire for our people. Not everybody will be like me, but at least we can walk the same direction.
Amazing. Your Excellency, the people of Plateau have worked for about 3 or 4 months now, and they have not been paid, even though you are doing a lot to see that you relieve them of such pains. And I would want you to address them right on that camera so that they will be more patient with you, and then they would understand the times and the seasons. Sir.
Thank you, Tony, for this opportunity. My dear workers of Plateau, I said it during the campaigns that for me, paying salary is not an achievement. It is a duty, it's a responsibility, because I believe that the laborer is worthy of his wages. Therefore came in and I'm pained to know that you are being owed this backlog of salaries. I'm even talking about only those in the core civil service. I think those in the tertiary institutions got their salaries last in January. And so I am doing everything I can to be able to bring succor in that direction. By the grace of God, before or by the end of this month, we would have started to do something that will give you hope that we mean well. It will be my joy throughout my tenure to see that by month end, you don't need to beg for your salary, that it drops as and when due. And we're going to set that process in motion. And by the grace of God, I am sure we're going to find that cushion with some prudent financial planning, and we'll be able to address. In fact, for me, I am not even thinking about just paying salaries, but how to even improve the salary. Amazing. Because I believe that what the salaries being paid now are nothing to write home about. But we have to bake the cake before we eat it. Sure. At the moment, we can only share what is available. True. And I'm going to be tasking the workers on productivity so that we can enhance our income generation. And if there is enough to share, believe you me, I will ensure that their pay packages are enhanced so that they can have a decent living. There's what they call a living wage. Yeah. And I believe that the minimum wage at this point in time is below the living wage. But we will do all we can to turn that around. But it's going to require a lot of work and effort, and we must be able to roll over our sleeves and get to work so that we can create wealth for ourselves and for our people, and be able to ensure that the work environment is conducive for those who want to devote their time in public service particularly, and that at the end of their services, they will not have any regrets, because not only would they have been living decently, but that there will be a guarantee that their pensions will be paid as and when due.
Amazing. Thank you very much for staying tuned on ECWA Television International, and you heard from the Executive Governor of Plateau State what he intends, what his thoughts and his intents are for the state. And we wish him nothing less than the best. We wish him more than the best. We wish him more than the best in his endeavors running Plateau State. And we know with what he has said, he will not shame us. Thank you very much for watching. Your Excellency, I'm extremely grateful on behalf of staff and management of the ECWA Television and even the ECWA Executive. We are grateful that you found time to be here. We are so grateful. You are always identifying with ECWA Television. You know I spoke to you off camera about our 5th anniversary, and I know what you said. I know what you said, and I'm grateful that you are always thinking of ECWA Television, and we can always have you. I look forward to having you on the 1st of October, where we shall celebrate Nigeria. Another Nigeria's birthday on the 1st of October. Thank you very much for doing this with us. Those of you who made comments were sorry we couldn't take them, but they are there, and I'm sure a lot of people were going to respond to such comments. Have a great evening and good night.